The Premier League transfer window is now closed, so whether your club had a clear out, spent a little, or like Chelsea, cleared the aisles, every team now has their squad until it reopens in January. So I spoke to 7 fans to ask them to rate their club's window here on FCAA. So in this summer's transfer window, Premier League clubs spent a total of £1.98 billion, of which 79% is what the media add on to Manchester United transfers. 16, hold on, of which 16%, no, that's wrong. No, it's not even that funny. This is down 16% from the 2023 summer transfer window, which was £2.63 billion, as no one decided to spend £100 million on Rice. The biggest spenders, surprise, surprise, were the hoarders of the football world, Chelsea, who spent a total of £219 million, and those saving the pennies were Manchester City, who only spent £21 million on Savinho. The biggest transfer fee paid by a Premier League club this summer was by Spurs, who forked out £65 million for Dominic Solanke from Bournemouth. I found fans from 7 Premier League clubs and asked them to rate their club's window out of 10.
First of all, I'm going to say we absolutely smashed it with departures. We managed to get rid of a lot of players who, quite frankly, unfortunately, are not quite cutting the standard. So guys like Eddie Nketiah, Emile Smith-Rowe, gutted to see him go, but he just can't get in the team. Good luck to him. Reece Nelson out on loan. Incomings, Marino's good. David Raya on a permanent is also a very good thing. Calafiori looks very, very good. And let's talk about him. Man like Raheem Sterling, or as I'm going to call him, Raheem Sterling. At first, I didn't love it. But now that I've had a chance to think about it, I think he's actually a lot better than people think. But for a 1-season loan, no money up front, and Chelsea paying most of the wages, I think it's a good deal considering the circumstances. Let's rank this transfer window as a whole. We didn't get that striker that everyone thinks that Arsenal needs, even though we scored 90-odd goals last season. But hey, I'm going to give it a solid 7.5 out of 10.
Unlike a lot of Liverpool fans, I thought the transfer window for us was actually quite a good one, because obviously Slot's come in and he's got the sort of temperament of like an accountant, you know, who comes along and, you know, does the thing like the famous Pan Am story about how they were spending millions because they were putting 2 olives in their martinis and they were like, just don't put any olives in, and that saved them millions. He's got that sort of energy, and I quite like that he's come along and instead of just, you know, spunking a load of money on like some big name player, he's probably looked at it and he's timed it up, you know, 3 wins out of 3, and all he's really done is brought in Chiesa. So obviously long term is down to how it's supposed to go. I'm actually moderately impressed with how it's gone. Ask me again if we don't win the title.
It's interesting to hear from a Liverpool fan who's happy with just one immediate signing coming into the club this summer. I think for me, so far, Liverpool have been far and away the best team in the league. And of course, I have first-hand experience of that being true. If they keep Chiesa fit and he can find some kind of form, they really will have a brilliant winger on their hands. The bastards.
Look, I think when you consider all of the PSR and UEFA financial fair play and all of that rubbish, I think we can hold our heads pretty high, to be honest with you. Yeah, look, we had to sell Douglas Luiz and Diaby to comply with them. Not ideal. However, I think the way that we've managed to wangle our way through it was fantastic. Some of the incomings included in that, obviously, you've got Ian Maatsen, who we dealt with Chelsea. Amari Kellerman, obviously, going the other way. But all of the players that we've bought in, bar Ross Barkley, I think were under the age of 23. We've got a fantastic squad there, a future-focused squad as well. And look, I've not even mentioned Namadou Onana's name yet, and what a player he's turning out to be for us. 3 games in, 2 goals, absolutely bossing every midfield that he's played against so far. So look, I can't wait to see how he gets on further under Unai Emery. I think the only slight thing that I'm a little bit disappointed with in terms of the transfer window is the lack of a right back. I think it's a position that we're not particularly very well stacked in. Yeah, we've got Matty Cash, but in my personal opinion, I don't think he's that level that we need to maintain the level that we're at. I think we need a better right back, and I certainly think there's better ones out there. So that's a slight disappointment. But look, overall, I'm very, very happy with how we've come out of the transfer window. So look, I think if I had to give a rating out of 10, I would probably give it a 7.5.
When analysing Everton's transfer business, you have to look at the entirety of it before rating it out of 10, such as getting rid of players we had no use for. For example, Andre Gomez, one of the highest earners of the club. We let him go on a free because his wages were so high, but he needs to go. And replacing him with a smarter player, which we'll talk about in a second, was crucial. Another player, Neil Maupay, we needed to get rid of him. He contributed the same amount of goals as Tim Howard during his time at Everton. He was useless. And then when it comes to incomings, I felt we went for one specific type of profile, a profile that we didn't get. And that was a winger with pace. We were linked with Minte, we were linked with Wilfred Gnonto, we were linked with Almiron. I don't know whose idea that was. But apart from that, we did really well in getting Eric Boonham, a young player that we can mould into whatever we want. A player that will be on significantly less wages. And we've got Lindstrom and Njai, very, very good signings. O'Brien as well. That's just to add to the depth. So apart from missing out on that one profile, I think it's an 8 out of 10 just because we did well to replace players that we had no use for with players that we will have use for.
Right, ranking Chelsea's transfer window is so difficult because it's been insane, of course. Ever since we've had these new owners, every transfer window is just insane. And to be honest, I was hoping for a bit more of a tame one. I just don't feel like there's a plan. There's no plan. The fact that on the deadline day we got rid of Sterling but still got in Sancho after getting Neto, after getting Felix, after already having plenty of wingers at the club, like there's no plan here.
You're joking. Not another one? Oh, for God's sake, I can't stand this.
It's kind of like it appears that there's two things in mind. One is vibes. Just if there's a vibes to it, we'll go for it. Or two, if we reckon we can sell them on in a few years and make money out of it. And that's not a footballing plan, that's a business plan, and it's just so infuriating. And think, players like Conor Gallagher leaving. We've got Dewsbury Hall in. He's worse than Conor Gallagher. So, what's the point in making pure profit on Gallagher, but then still spending money on him? And yes, I know they didn't spend the same amount, but the lack of plan, the lack of footballing vision opposed to business, vision is just incredibly infuriating, and I feel like we've got a decent squad at the minute, and to be honest, we've got rid of a lot of players that we needed to, like Lukaku. I think Sterling needed to be moved on. Ziyech's gone, a few of the academy boys have gone on loans and stuff. There's been some good outgoings, but some of the ins have been really stupid, and just leaves a bad taste in the mouth. Out of 10 could be too nice, but I'll go with 6 because a few of these players look decent, and we had to get rid of some players that we did, but overall, not happy.
Jay's spot on with his assessment of Chelsea. I think they're absolutely chaotic. What the hell are they doing? I'm not sure what the game plan is, as Jay alluded to, and he's a fan of the club. So me, as someone who supports a different team, I'm just as lost as he is, which is surprising. Jay mentioned in his clip there that he thinks they're buying these players now to try and sell on for higher fees later on. But if you look at players like Modric, who have struggled, £100 million, what are you going to do with a player like that? The rumour is obviously they think they're stockpiling players in case they do get a transfer ban, if they have been found to breach PSR rules. I think it's definitely a situation to keep an eye on, and we'll see what Chelsea do this season with that massive squad.
Well, for me, obviously a bit of a quiet one in terms of the incomings. We got Gundogan in on a free, which is insane business. That is insane business, man. Like, he's such a good player. Already I'm seeing little glimpses when he's come off the bench. He's one of the best midfielders in the league already. Yeah, and you all know that's true. Yeah, regardless of his age. And that was a free. Savinho, mad deal. Total transfer fee of 32 million quid if add-ons are paid. Already looks crazy good. I've seen him a few times for Girona, looks class. But yeah, he looks mega. The only issue with us is really we don't have a backup striker to Haaland, but I think we'll be all right. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 because we still don't have an out-and-out, serious Rodri backup, but we should be able to get away with it with Kovacic and Gundogan. and we don't have a backup striker, which, you know, means when we rest Haaland, we've got to change system, got to change the whole system and play a false nine, which is not ideal. But I think it'll be fine. I think we'll win the league again.
How would I rate Manchester United's transfer window? I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I think some of the players we've brought in, the likes of De Ligt, superb player. I think he'll do well for us. Masraoui wasn't someone I was aware of. Looks really good, looks solid in what I've seen so far. Xerxes, again, I think there's a player there, and I think if we can find the right position for him and figure that aspect out of it, because I don't think he's a full 9, then I think he'll be a really good addition to the squad. The only thing really for me is sort of the outs. Wan-Bissaka, sad to see him go, but I think it was the right move overall for the club, just in terms of how Ten Hag wants to play. But I think McTominay going out the door slow. It's really slow to get him out, as we did. But it'd be nice to see him go sooner, and that way you can get Ugarte in soon. I think Ugarte will be a great player for us. I think he's the sort of player that Old Trafford wants to see. Someone who can cover ground, sliding tackles, put himself about, get the fans going in that respect. Let the flair players like Fernandes and so on do what they need to do. I still need to see the likes of Lindelof. Is he going to go? Maguire, again, is he going to go? The wage bill looms over us again in terms of the transfer market and the business we can do getting people out. But overall, 7 out of 10. Slow burner to start this season. Keep the faith. And I think the likes of De Ligt and so on will pay dividends in the long term.
I'm surprised to hear that James is gutted that AWB has left United, although I do believe he was able to get tickets to the games through Wan-Bissaka. So maybe that's the reason why. True story. I agree with his rating on the window, though. I think 7 out of 10 is a perfect score for the first summer transfer window under the new regime at Manchester United. I think it's such a big job to try and get rid of all this dead wood, bring in good quality players that the squad needs, and push this team further, and the club further up the table. I think trying to get rid of everyone in one summer was impossible, but they've made a good start on that. There's a lot of players I think they definitely should be looking to get rid of, and those inflated wages do need to come down. Personally, I would have liked a left back to come into the club. I think the two we have are unreliable, and you know, it just puts pressure on the right backs having to play there. And we just need players that can play, that are fit, that can add quality to the squad. And I think the 5 that have come in are going to do that massively. If you support any of the teams in this video, what do you make of the fans' views on your club's activity during the summer transfer window? And if you don't support any of the teams, which club should we have featured that you believe had a better window? As always, let us know in the comments. As always, I appreciate you stopping by, and I'll catch you on the flip side.